Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. I'm Paul Lathrop. Today we're going to be talking with a good friend of mine and one of the members of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. Matter of fact, she's a team leader with the caucus, Sarah Kate Hauptman. Sarah, I want to get into a little bit about the caucus. To start with, when was the caucus formed and how did it come about?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
Yes, ma'am.
So the caucus actually is a multi-part organization. So it started out as a PAC, a political action committee, in 2013. And then the caucus, which is a 501c4, formed in 2015. We also have a support fund, which is a 501c3, so that's the tax-deductible arm of it. And that started around the same time.
Okay. Was there a specific event or what caused the? I'm gonna go at this a different way. Minnesota is not and has not been a very friendly area for gun owners. Was there a specific event, or was this just a group of people that said, we need local representation? There just isn't any out there. What was the reason it was formed?
Well, so Minnesota had a group called GOCRA. It was the Gun Owners Civil Rights Alliance, and they were just a brilliant group that did all of the work back in, I believe, 2001 to get the Minnesota concealed carry shall issue concealed carry licensing passed. Mm-hmm. So that was a really big deal, and fast forward up until, around the 2015 time, those guys kind of started to, I don't want to say age out, it seems disrespectful, but they were kind of getting ready to retire and pass the torch. And so that's right around the time the caucus was formed, and we kind of started picking up where they left off and trying to fill some big shoes there. But I think we've done a pretty good job with it. So yeah, and Minnesota it's a purplish state. Like a lot of states, the cities themselves are mostly blue. The rest of the state is mostly red, and we've got a very strong outdoor tradition in Minnesota. So that influences our politics quite a bit.
Very cool. So, what are some successes? 2015. So it's about a 5-year-old organization. What are some successes that the caucus has had?
Well, right out of the gate in 2015, we were involved in passing a 5-part series of bills that, among other things, legalized suppressors in Minnesota, which previously we weren't able to have. We also got some emergency powers protections passed so that if the governor declares a state of emergency, they're not allowed to confiscate firearms, which came in handy because then they declared a state of emergency when there was a pandemic. So we're like, good thing we have that. They're also not allowed to close gun shops and interfere with Second Amendment, the exercise of Second Amendment rights in an emergency.
That's a big one. And again, recently, I'm sure it was absolutely needed with the pandemic.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm trying to think of the state, and I want to say, it was New Jersey where, gun stores aren't essential businesses, and we're shutting down anything that's not essential. So all your gun stores are shut down. Minnesota, that didn't happen. So that's a big win.
Yeah, and to be clear on that, it's so they can shut down everything, right? But they can't selectively shut down only gun stores. So that's kind of the. It's not a magic bullet,
right?
Pardon the pun, but yeah, it basically prevents it prevents people from interfering with your exercise of Second Amendment rights in an emergency, and one of the most important things is preventing confiscation of firearms.
Okay, so let's move on to what's currently the caucus is working on. What are some challenges you guys are working on right now?
Oh boy. Well, okay. So the big one here in Minnesota, like I mentioned, it's a purplish state, right? Mm-hmm. But right now we have I believe 2 or 3 seat pro-gun majority in the Minnesota Senate. That is the only thing that is stopping a raft of Virginia-style gun control from passing here. So our goal right now is to try to preserve that Senate majority, and it's actually very likely that we're going to lose it in this next election. So we're preparing for that. It's like you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst.
Sure.
And we're trying to do as much as we can as far as electioneering through our PAC to keep our pro-gun candidates in office and to elect pro-gun candidates. But knowing that the way the winds are blowing, we're pretty likely to lose our majority. We're going to end up playing a lot of defense this year. So we're just trying to brace for that. But it could be bad.
Okay. Well, one thing that Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus has done, and you personally lead this, is Caucus Live. That started fairly recently. I've been able to catch a few of them live as they happen. And that, you want to explain a little bit about what Caucus Live is and what its purpose is?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So I'm a very strong believer that even when your situation seems dire, that you need to find something that you can do personally to feel effective and to feel like you're contributing and to feel like you have some control over your environment. So for me, that project was Caucus Live. So what I did was through the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, we started a live broadcast. The goal of it is just to educate people, to kind of raise the tide in our little community. And it was kind of targeted at the new gun owners now, like with the pandemic, with the civil unrest. A lot of people are getting into guns that don't have a family tradition of firearms ownership. So these are people just coming at it blindly, and they need knowledge. They need a nonpartisan source of good quality information that's not going to turn them off by being full of politics. So that's really what I was trying to do with the live show, is just create a resource for people who are new to firearms and who need a basic education. So it's a little bit like a variety show. Each week we have a different topic. We focus on general interest topics, especially appealing to beginner gun owners, but it's also a lot of more advanced discussion as well. So it does kind of appeal to our entire community. So we've done topics like how to buy a gun, how to get a permit to purchase in Minnesota, through like basic gun cleaning, basic maintenance. We've talked about myth versus reality. That's one of our more popular ones. We do a myth versus reality show about like debunking some of the old wives' tales about shotguns, or is an AR-15 really a weapon of war? Is a silencer really designed to commit murder? So we kind of debunk and answer those questions, and we cover them in a more in-depth level. So it kind of gives people a little more background on the gun community, especially if they came into it as strangers to us. So it's like, here's an intro.
Sure. So and these are done, and when it says Caucus Live, she means live. When are these scheduled? When do you do these?
So they are Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock Central Time.
Okay.
Yep, and we'll be going until December. I think December 16th is our last episode. We're going to take a little break for the holidays, and then when we come back, January is when our legislative session starts. So Minnesota, our legislative session only goes for part of the year. It's usually like January through May, somewhere in there. I'd have to look at the dates to be sure. But during session, we're much too busy with other alerts and like upcoming bills and such. So this show is going to take a little hiatus during session. And as of right now, we're planning on bringing it back probably next fall.
Very cool. So you mentioned, and I'm going to go ahead and pick your brain about a few. I in my former career as a truck driver, I caught every once in a while when I wasn't driving, I was able to catch some of them. And in particular, I thought the one about suppressors and the one that you did on maintaining or getting a concealed carry permit were very, very good shows. I'm going to just go ahead and pick your brain, and because we've got a couple minutes left here, and if you don't know, there's no harm in saying that wasn't covered because I wasn't able to watch each of them front to back. But suppressors in Minnesota, are suppressors legal to hunt with in Minnesota? Some states they are, some states they aren't.
Yes, they are. In Minnesota, they are. So basically, the suppressor is subject to all of the same rules as just basic firearm stuff. So if it's legal for you to own, it's legal for you to hunt with and do anything that you would normally do with it.
Very cool. Now, I know in South Dakota, we're looking at, if you were to go to buy a can, which is what they're generally called, in the gun world, for people that are around them a lot. If you go to buy a suppressor or a can, it takes 6 to 9 months for the ATF to come back with the Mother May I stamp. Is that something you're seeing there too?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. My husband's waiting for one actually, and it's been, I think it's been over 9 months at this point. My last one took about 7 months.
Wow. For something that...
Not a fan of that. But.
In theory, if you're able to own a firearm, it's the same background check for the suppressor. If you can get in 15 minutes clearance to walk out of a gun store with a handgun, my honest opinion, myself only, is you ought to be able to walk out in 15 minutes with a suppressor.
Yeah, it really doesn't make any sense to put them on a separate registry. I mean, it's basically just a thing that was done out of, I think, out of reputation, because they have this reputation for being like the assassin's tool or like the poacher's tool or whatever. But in reality, in my opinion, it's a matter of politeness. It's good manners to use a suppressor. It doesn't make your firearm any more dangerous. Yeah, it's better for you. It actually prevents hearing damage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting little tidbit on that is the number 1 and number 2 veterans disability claims in the U.S. are hearing loss and tinnitus. Both of those are things that are often caused by noises over the safe hearing threshold. And, that's a thing that we can prevent, at least as recreational shooters. So there's no reason we shouldn't be able to walk out with one the same day.
Absolutely. We are coming up on the end of our time here today. So a couple things. Do you have to be from Minnesota to be a member of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus?
You do not. No, you can be a member from anywhere, and we absolutely welcome support. And one of the things we tell people, too, and when we're doing our advocacy is like, if you live in a state that's a battleground state, then absolutely put all your resources into helping make change in your state. But if you live in a safe state, then pick a battleground state and help them out. Because, if you don't have to worry so much about your rights, there might be someone in California or in New Jersey that could really use that help, and it goes a long way. So, absolutely.
And Minnesota, as you said earlier, is right on the cusp. There's, it's hard to believe. I am, as I sit in my studio, I'm 12 miles from Minnesota, but politically, we're miles and miles and miles further apart.
Yeah, it's very likely that we are going to get a bunch of gun control rammed down our throats if we lose our Senate majority. So we are really going to fight that hard. But it's a battle that we may or may not be able to actually win. We can definitely make a difference, and we can make it better. We can take a little of the sting out of it, but we may not be able to fully win this battle. So we absolutely need all the help we can get.
So if somebody does want to help, whether or not they live in Minnesota, if you own a gun, you need to be a member. But if somebody is in South Dakota or Kansas or another state that is very safe in gun rights, how do they become a member of Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus?
You can go to gunowners.mn/join. You can become a member through there. We have also got a donation link on our website as well. Up in the top right corner, there's a big yellow target that says donate. So yeah, if you live in a state where you're secure, you don't have to worry, more power to you. That's awesome. But feel free to help us out because we could definitely use it. some of the things we're doing in this upcoming session. For one, we're doing electioneering. We're going to try to keep our pro-gun majority in the Senate as best we can. The second thing we're doing that I didn't mention before is we're having a lot of trouble right now with sheriffs in Minnesota delaying people's permit to carry applications because of COVID. So above and beyond the state statute, they're requiring an appointment to drop off your permit to carry paperwork. And then they're delaying those appointments for months and months. Like I've heard the soonest appointment you can get in Hennepin County right now is January. That's absolutely unacceptable. Wow. So one of the things we're doing is raising money for a lawsuit to potentially try to force the sheriffs to remedy that action and do a little better job of permit to carry applications.
Hennepin County, that's Minneapolis and the surrounding suburbs, right?
Yep, yeah. And I do know Ramsey County was running into the same problems. That's St. Paul in some of the surrounding areas. Ramsey County was requiring appointments, and then they'd schedule your appointment 2 or 3 months out. So it's completely unreasonable. I mean, the permit to carry to begin with is an infringement. And then to unnecessarily delay it like that is just adding insult to injury. But we're not going to get constitutional carry anytime soon here, although that would solve it. But at least what we can do is sue the sheriffs, force them to complete those applications in a timely manner.
Absolutely. Well, we are totally out of time. Sarah, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And folks, if you have the ability, please look into becoming a member of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, or just for those people who are multimillionaires out there, ship them some money. They'll put it to good use. So thank you again, Sarah.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Folks, check us out tomorrow. We'll be back with another one.